I'm sitting in downtown Johannesburg with Johan Campbell and just discussing some of change management practices, agile practices, and how change management and agile can coexist. So, Johan, just as an introduction, let the viewers know a bit about your experience with agile and your experience with change management.
Yeah, thanks, Lowen. I started on the traditional change management roadmap probably 12, 15 years ago, implementing projects and starting to realize that you need some focus on people. And in my implementation days of big projects, we really were hands-on helping people go through change at a user level. And I mean, we really found value in that, and we could confidently say when we do leave that these guys are they were ready and they're actually able and proficient in terms of what they need to do. And then obviously through the years we started to learn about change management and models and whatever, and I think over years we started to focus more on models and tools and stuff, and we started to forget about the users and how they are going through the change. So setting up centralized divisions, trying to understand it better theoretically, but at the end of the day the users were the ones that actually felt the friction and felt the uncomfortableness of change. With the introduction of Agile, we really struggled to understand the role of change management, but I think where we are today is that there's a definite Agile change management capability that needs to exist, and you have a massive role to play in coaching, training, helping, facilitating Scrum Masters, feature teams, product owners, product managers, all over, executives, in coaching them in terms of behavior, in terms of servant leadership, and even change management in general, but also making sure that the value chain is set up to actually get to the user. So where I am today is I still have that focus, and I'm on a little bit on the other side of the fence around making sure that certain technology actually gets implemented, but obviously making sure that the people needs to adopt and utilize whatever we bring in.
One of the things that's fascinated me, Johan, is this difference between change leadership and change management. I think a traditional change manager covers both. It plays sometimes as a change leader and sometimes as a change manager, but as a discipline around leadership and having leaders prepared to guide changes through an organization. What are some of the tips or your thoughts around this concept of change leadership for executives?
So I think it's important that I also understand what individuals and teams, whether it's IT and business, are actually going through. I think that's point number one. The research, especially from a pro-side perspective, has always said that one of the big stumbling blocks for executive is that they are very quick to live in the future state. I think that's a given. By the time teams and the mass actually gets to that future state, they're already at the next wave, second wave, third wave of innovation, technology, business goals, business objectives, which is what they need to do. But I think they also need to understand that they have a massive role to play to fast track. And when I say fast track, not in a command and control way, but they have a role to play to make sure that it doesn't take teams 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get into the agile rhythm. Ceremonies, it's that whole value chain understanding. And I think the change manager, whether he sits low at the low end of an organization or at the top end, is from a structural point of view, sits under a lot of other bosses kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have a role to play. You have a role to play to actually go to them and say, I have some suggestions. I have some cool and nice ideas that would help you to get whatever objective you have from a business point of view, to be instilled in that team or to move them forward. Because just as much as we want end users to move forward, you want teams, business units, senior managers to move forward. And again, I'm going to refer back to ProSci's research years ago. One of the big resistors to change is senior management or middle managers, because they stuck between executives and lower level teams, if I can call it that way. They themselves has got very different strategic directions. So the change leadership capabilities doesn't just sit at an executive level. Those executives need to coach these senior and middle managers to also move forward and get that gap between future waves and future objectives and then feature team and past or old ways of working. They need to close that gap. That's how I see them working and operating.
Johan, you and I have spoken a number of times about change management and agile change management, or change management for agile projects, and now we're going to start collaborating and getting out some material to support the change community, the agile community. What are some of the benefits or the problems that you think you and I are going to solve by presenting some of the agile change management thinking?
We all have a journey, and I think my journey around agile, and even anybody listening to it, you've got a journey and nobody can take that away from you. So in no way I'm saying that it is perfect. You can just tell people and share and collaborate based on your learnings. So my learnings would really be from a change management point of view, trying to get teams and change managers to go from a waterfall to an agile point of view, and the successes that we've had based on from an agile perspective. You can really teach the newbies, even the current change managers, what not to do. Maybe the things that they need to do, they know, but there's a lot of things that we definitely know we don't need to do anymore. There's a few things that doesn't work anymore. And we've had a conversation around massive change stakeholder matrix document that just sits in inboxes, and we've said for years it doesn't help if that document is not living. That document needs to be visible, and that's why we've always said, a canvas from a lean agile point of view works, but it's not about the canvas, it's about the interaction. So using some of the agile practices in combination with how you execute projects, how we engage people, is really stuff that we can learn and teach other people how to do it and what to do. I think people still struggle in that. I'm appointed as a agile change manager, and I've gone through some training, but I don't know what is step 1. I don't know what is step 2. And how you need to interact with product owners, product managers, executives. Even if you are afraid, use your network. I mean, Agile doesn't say we're not going to network again and collaborate. It actually tells you that. So network, use your boss to influence somebody else. You are still applying some of the change management practices and tools. Whether it's 20 years old or 2 years old, you're still doing that. So I really think the roadmap or the experience that we've had can help people, and I think people out there as well need to start to share at these platforms, talk about it, because the whole discipline of change management is not going to move forward if we don't have people talking like you and me around what we see and what we are. And it's not always going to be 100% correct, but I think it is important that we do collaborate, because talking about the topic and talking about what we can do is really important. And just to recap, what we can do is teach new change managers what to do, even experienced ones, pitfalls, and how to apply some of the old waterfall techniques in Agile.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, don't throw this away, just apply it differently.
No, thanks for your time this morning, Johan. I've enjoyed chatting to you. I've learned some interesting things. Just my last question is, do you think that in South Africa or in Africa in general, we need to formalize the network or the community of practice around change management to discuss and help the discipline a lot better?
Yeah, well, I definitely agree, because and I would, you want to formalize an informal process. So you want to stimulate conversation, group conversation, worldwide conversation. You don't need thousands of people. If you have 10, you have 20, it will help. I think it's whether you are in a different country, technology helps us now to share some of the good stuff. And I'm blatantly saying not practices, the good stuff, the bad stuff, the pitfalls around. And we could potentially really think about how we collaborate, how we do it, and formalize just informally network sessions, places of collaboration, places of dialogue, places of how and what you are currently doing in your place of work. And even from a consultant point of view, you sit at home, there is no work, share, let's start to collaborate, then we know about you. You can learn from somebody that's been there for 15 or 20 years, and you can become a better consultant. Learning and collaborating from a consultant, we are limited sometimes from a organization point of view what we can do, and we've got our own tunnel vision, and we can learn from consultants out there. And even if you're not in the practice and you really need to understand and you're in there, I think set it up, share. If you hear about things around Agile Change Management, participate. Even if you keep quiet, you're still learning, hearing what people actually say. So I think it's a good thing that we set these things up and we actually make a platform for people to discuss and share.